views matter.
रेडियो जिंदगी 1170 AM पर वेलकम लिसनर्स, मैं हूं आपके साथ में ईरा एंड वेलकम टू दिस शो शापिर अली लॉ शो. वेल, शापिर अली इज once again on air with us. He is the founder and president and managing attorney of Shapir Ali Law Group, which is right here in Newark, California. He is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association as well as the State Bar of California. He is a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social actions and social services, and he has a strong interest and knowledge of the political legal system in the US. He formed his own law group to work on the causes he feels most ardently about. The law group focuses on immigration law with an emphasis on employment-based immigration, and he definitely helps clients all over the US. His offices are in Newark, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. Listeners, if you would like to get in touch with Shapir Ali Law Group, the office is in Newark. You can make an appointment by calling 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. And his website is peerallylaw.com. That's peerallylaw.com. So without any further ado, hi Shah, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you? I hope you're doing well. And to all our listeners, I say hi. And today we're going to discuss, of course, about immigration.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. And as usual, before I start, I wanted to let everybody know everything I'm going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. And the number to our office, 510-742-5887.
Right. So, no, let me also remind the listeners that if they have any questions about immigration, they can call us on the studio number. Listeners, it's the same show that used to happen Thursday 10 to 11. Now it's happening on Wednesday morning 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Any questions you have about immigration, you can definitely call us right away on 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. कोई भी सवाल होता है आपको इमिग्रेशन को लेकर के, आप फोन कर सकते हैं स्टूडियो नंबर पर. We have Shapir Ali on air with us 11 बजे तक, यानी कि till 11 a.m. Yes, Shah, let's get started.
Yes, indeed, Ira. And today, hopefully, we're going to be joined by Attorney Sharif Silmi, who is known now as the Wizard of EB1. Mm-hmm. That's how people are calling him. He's really good at working on the EB1 and national interest waivers and O1 visas. And he's also in charge of our Washington, D.C. office. And hopefully he will join us in the next 20 minutes. So until then, we will still be taking calls and we will be talking a little bit about other issues on immigration.
Right.
For one, the delays. Well, before I start, last week I mentioned there was a chance to see a reduction in the time for people from India. Unfortunately, the bill didn't go through. Deep inside, I was fearing that because this is something that has been going on for years now since I became an attorney and PERM has been introduced. Everybody has been expecting that there will be some changes in the law so that people from India and China don't have to wait that long. But unfortunately, it didn't go through, and now we have to fall back onto hopefully a normal increase in a decrease in the time for EB2 and EB3 categories, but one of the options will be EB1, and Sharif will be there to discuss about that. So unfortunately this didn't go through, and that's kind of sad for people from India. Other problems we're seeing now is the delay in people when they're filing their cases, delay in having their fingerprint noticed, their biometrics, and delaying, in fact, in everything, right, including the receipts, including the biometrics time. Much of it is caused by the COVID situation, COVID-19, but also because 13,000 of the employees of the USCIS are not getting paid. That's kind of a sad situation.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, that's why you're seeing so many, because I'm getting calls, a lot of people, hey, I filed the case, how come I'm not getting an answer? But it's not only one, it's everybody pretty much going through this. Because of those two factors, And unless Congress put forward $1.2 billion to help them, to bail them out, the agency is really into big trouble, because the money is being given to other units of the Department of Homeland Security, like the CBP, even ICE. For those who don't know, the Department of Homeland Security has three main components. We have the USCIS, which is basically the one that processes most of the cases and the paperwork. Then you have the CBP, the one at the airport, and ICE, which is the enforcement side. Those two are getting pretty much a lot of money. Not at least they are getting covered, because they usually kind of get paid by the government, and it seems the administration are funding them. But the part which is not getting funded is the USCIS, which is basically the one that actually gives us the good news, unfortunately. So right now this is causing a lot of problems, and also people are still getting their cases approved.
Right.
People are still getting their green cards, etc. In fact, I wanted to congratulate Darshi from my team, who just got a difficult adjustment of status green card for someone yesterday. Got approved and they got the card. But it's happening really, really at a slow pace, and a lot of people are also really getting frustrated, and they don't know what to do. They don't know what status they are on. Should they stay or leave? Unfortunately, none of those answers can be done. I cannot give a general answer if you should stay in the U.S. or leave, because it depends. It's on a case-by-case basis, and this is where calling us for a consultation helps. And the number to our office, 510-742-5887. And again, we have in the next 20 minutes we will be taking calls. After that, we will be having Sharif. So feel free to call if you have any questions on immigration. 510-657-1170. Ira, on your side, do you have any specific questions, or I can proceed? I will go ahead and
no, you could go ahead. I'm just reminding listeners that when the call lines open, they can call on 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170.
Exactly, and thank you, Ira, for being here. I forgot to say.
No problem.
Thank you for helping us on the board, and the team of Radio Zindagi, who has always been there. And we have some sad news from my island, Mauritius, where this big tanker of oil just destroyed pretty much the beautiful Blue Lagoon, and because of course, I don't want to get into the political side of it, but it's really a mess, and a lot of people are suffering. But luckily, everybody is volunteering to help. The island is actually safe from COVID, but it got this one, so now it seems like they were safe from one thing, but so my heart goes to all my people from Mauritius, So I just wanted to mention that, and it's all over the news, because there was a lot of mishandling of the situation, and now a lot of people are suffering.
Well, thank you for creating awareness about that. A lot of us did not know, I'm sure, but now we should definitely read about it and spread the word and create more awareness.
Mauritius has one of the second most beautiful beaches in the world.
Absolutely, bluest waters in the whole world. Yes,
in the world, and then plus we had the second, I think, marine park, and it hit actually the marine park. So for all those wanting to help or anything, please feel free to check. They have some organization helping, but unfortunately the authorities are not acting really fast. So that's a different issue, but at the end of the day, a lot of people are suffering.
No, it is all over the news, yes. Shah, I had a question. Somebody actually texted me, and they don't want to go on air, but their question is, their I-140 is approved, but the employer is not sharing a copy of the I-140 receipt or approval notice with them. I think they are looking to change the job or change their employer, but the previous employer, the current employer, they're not sharing any copy of the I-140 receipt or approval notice with them. So is there anything that they can do about that, or
Yes, Yeah, indeed. Unfortunately, the I-140 belongs to the company, so there's no obligation to share. However, one of the tricks you can use is actually to do what we call a FOIA, the Form G639. You apply for it, it's free, and oftentimes when you request that, USCIS will provide you with a copy. But sometimes they don't, so it's kind of sad. But if you have at least the receipt number, you can actually use that and pull the approval online and use that. Is good enough to get your extensions, etc. But the best way to proceed is usually file the Form G639, which is the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act form. And oftentimes, most of the time, they will actually give you a copy of it. But from the employer, there's no law that forces them to actually give you a copy of it. So, yeah, that's an interesting question because I get that all the time. You can also do a FOIA from the Department of Labor to get a copy of your labor certification, the perm labor certification. But when you do the FOIA with G639 from the USCIS, you also get sometimes the copy of the labor certification. So there's no need to do both. But the most important one is that approval notice. If you have the receipt number and you go online, you punch in the number on uscis.gov, and you can print out the approval. You can use that. It's good enough to get your extension, and you can give an explanation in your extension that the previous employer is not sharing with you.
Okay. So and they can just do all of this online.
Yes. The approval electronic appears online, so it's not the same. You don't get the copy. It will just say the case was approved, etc., and you can print that. But that doesn't substitute 100% like an approval notice from USCIS, which is on the 797 form. But at least you get something you can work with for your extension or H4EAD.
Okay.
So I hope that answers the question. And again, feel free to reach out, 510-657-1170. And for those who, this is Attorney Shapir Ali, by the way. Our show was usually on Thursday, but we have moved it on Wednesday. And hopefully now more people will know about it, and they will call us and actually listen to the show. We had to change it because it was convenient for all of us to move to Wednesday. So, Ira, any other question from your side? Or
that's all I had for now. I will let you know as I have more.
Perfect. And then, like I said, we're going to hopefully have Sharif in the next 10 minutes.
Right.
So, in the meantime, I'm going to talk a little bit about the H4EAD because this is something that a lot of people are calling on. Many people are worried, will the H4EAD stay or go? Well, at this point, I don't think it will go. And for those who have it, especially if you have like 2 years, 3 years, even if they remove the H4EAD in terms of a law, you might be able to still enjoy it. And hopefully, just like DACA, there will be a lot of lawsuit, and they won't really be able to do anything. So at the end of the day, excuse me, at the end of the day, for those filing for the H4EAD, people don't know that the delay is being caused by the fingerprinting, which is the biometrics, and many of those centers who do the biometrics are closed because of the pandemic, and also because of the funding, same problem, because those are contractors, and I think they're not getting paid, etc., etc. So there are many things happening right now, and hopefully we are going to see some light in the tunnel after November, and we are full-blown in the elections. And I wanted to actually congratulate my friend Kamala Harris for being nominated with Biden. Hopefully we're going to see some changes coming, and she's really strong, and and hopefully people will. I know I'm not trying to take sides here.
No, actually, you know what?
I know her work. So.
Let's definitely take sides. I actually wanted to ask you. This is big news, and what do you think? What do you think, Shah, is going to happen if and when she comes in? She does become the vice president. What do you think the future of immigration would be?
Well, she's a colleague, kind of, right?
Really?
So
okay.
Well, not a colleague in terms of working together, but I know her, and her work is really excellent. She did an excellent job in many cases, although sometimes she has some certain things I don't agree with her, but I think she's really good for the system.
Mm-hmm.
And when I mention colleague is because she's an attorney also.
Right.
And she has worked really in this field, and it was an honor actually to kind of before I discussed with her about a few things, and I really like her approach. But at the end of the day, we should not. A lot of people, one thing is kind of a lot of people thinking, okay, because she's Desi, that's etc. That's not really the point that the people should look at.
True.
First, she's strong. She's very, very strong, and Biden needs a strong person. I don't want to say woman, but I really love the fact that she's a woman.
I know, we're lucky that she's a woman. Yes.
Yeah. On that side, it's something that we needed really badly. Many countries, including India, Pakistan, and all those countries, had women ruling actually.
Yes,
well, not ruling, but
leadership.
Even prime ministers. Yeah, but America never had it. We came close to that last elections, but we were not there. But now at least we have a VP. Let's see how this works out. Now the question is that what are their chances? My problem is that there are many things happening which people don't know that really will not be in their favor. For one, we are seeing massive voter suppressions happening in some neighborhoods. They are even closing the polls in poor neighborhoods until one judge intervenes. And those are going to, because when Obama, during the Obama campaign, I was one of the lawyers who worked in Pleasanton, basically protecting those voters, and there are a lot of things happening, including intimidation, they scaring people, etc., etc. So this is the worst one I've seen actually, and I don't know how the team of Biden lawyers are going to, because under the Obama we had a very, very good system where actually as soon as those things happen we will file injunctions in court and block them from blocking the voters.
Right.
But this time it's happening at an early stage, and now you saw the issue with the postal office. That's going to affect the whole dynamic. If all those issues are overcome, we are going to see a chance for both of them, Biden and Kamala. But the problem is actually bigger than that also. We have a huge wave of racism going on, and that can also backfire on the fact that Kamala Harris is a mixed colored person, right?
Yes.
So that also is going to be the negative side, and I hope people will oversee that like they saw when Obama came. Now, the big thing that people should think about is to vote. A lot of people don't vote because they think nothing will change, but hey, we saw that they didn't vote, and look what happened. So people have to make an effort, no matter what. They got to go and vote. If they can vote by mail, if they can vote by any way they can vote, they got to vote, because that's the only way we can actually kind of express ourselves in a democracy. And here I'm not trying to take sides. Either you vote for Trump or Biden and Kamala Harris. Of course, personally, it's kind of clear which side I am on, but bottom line, people have to vote. I know a lot of people in our communities who are very pro-Trump and actually really strong activists in there, but I'm not going to give them any kind of credit or anything, because personally I think it's really kind of counterintuitive how people will be pro-Trump, but they are for whatever reason. that's their own rule. But at the end of the day, we're going to see some really kind of really tug of war. It's already happening now. The dirty war has started, insults, etc. The negative thing, especially on the Trump camp, is normal. They pretty much work with that, and I know I might get someone calling and saying, oh no, Trump is doing a good job. Maybe on certain stuff he is, but for me personally, I don't see it. So let's see. Hopefully that those two can actually make a difference. Now, again, like I said, everything I'm saying today is my opinion, so people should not take it that they have to go and vote for so-and-so, but they got to vote. That's the most important part. So, bottom line, Ira, I think this November is going to change the face of the world, because everything that America does actually affects the world, right? So if we continue having the same, the world might really get the same on their side too. And if we get a change, you will see like a domino effect, all those other to fall one by one. I think Sharif is there. Sharif, are you there?
Hey, Attorney Shah, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Alaikum salam. How are you, Sharif?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so today we have Ira with us, and Ira will be also helping us on the show. And tell us a little bit what's going on, because I started by talking about, and we went into politics after that, but I started talking about the issues of that law that we were all having hopes on, and the EB2, EB3. I think this didn't go through, so tell us about what's the fallback position for people now.
Sure. So, a lot of us have been, especially in the D.C. area, really watching for the news with respect to, high-skilled workers, and how do we, get them off of the, situation of, the backlogs. And there has been a lot of movement in, Congress, and we were all putting our hopes on the Senate Bill 386. However, as many people know, there's always been a different wrench that's been thrown in the mix. So, just to give you a quick background, what Senate Bill 386 does is it increases the country quotas for from 8% to 15%, and that would really help out a lot of people who are on the immigration backlog, particularly India and China. Now, a lot of the opponents of Senate Bill 386, particularly Dick Durbin, who is the senator from Illinois, were not really supporting that effort, because it would then put individuals who are not from India and China, who are now applying for the work-based immigration into a backlog, and direct most of the visas there.
Sharif, sorry to interrupt you. If you can just speak a little bit louder, because it's kind of low, the voice.
Got you. Sorry about that. So, just to kind of give people an understanding, the Senate Bill 386 was intended to end the backlog for individuals who are from India, and there has been wrenches thrown into that process over and over again over the years, and it was looking like there was a compromise agreement. So the main sponsor of this Senate Bill 386, which increased the visa quota for India and other countries from 8% to 15%, was Mike Lee, and he's a Republican. So Mike Lee was negotiating with Dick Durbin, a Democrat, to get this done, and it seemed like they made a compromise agreement that would have provided some relief for the top two countries, but also gave about a 25% reserve for all countries, so that you don't see a situation where only India and China take, all of those work authorization visas. And what ended up happening is it looks like the Trump administration intervened, and they got the Florida Senator Rick Scott to throw a big wrench into the whole process and basically stop the bill from going forward on what's called unanimous consent. So I don't want to kind of get into those technical legislative matters, but make a long story short, like there has been over and over in the past, there is no likelihood of moving forward, unfortunately, with the, with this bill that would from happening. So it looks like, kind of hypothesis about the situation was correct in that people who have taken matters into their own hands and, tried to resolve their situation through immigration petitions rather than hoping and praying for the government to behave in a way that would help them are the ones who are benefiting, and those who are sitting around waiting for, the government or Congress to do some changes are being left in the dust, unfortunately, because, this government and Congress is a mess right now. And we've seen over and over again that people are being disappointed. So, I've been in contact with a lot of the high-skilled worker lobbyists in D.C., and it is, looking more and more. I mean, they don't say it publicly, but we obviously want to give our clients and potential clients and community the accurate information. It's not looking very good in terms of Senate Bill 386. Because basically, this looked like it could pass with what's called a veto-proof majority, so that the administration would not be able to stop it. But what they did is kind of smart. They used Rick Scott, the senator from Florida, to stop it in the Senate, and so that they don't look like they're the ones doing it. But it was clearly a call that was made from the Trump administration, because Rick Scott is kind of like the puppet of the Trump administration. And, that's what held it up again. So, it's basically a hopeless case, unfortunately, in terms of Senate Bill 386 and correcting this backlog. So we're looking, and even under the best case scenario, under Senate Bill 386, the compromise package was actually going to only be implemented at the beginning of the first fiscal year. So if, for example, it was passed, that would only have been implemented in October of 2022. So anyone that's in a backlog now, that would be the earliest possible date for that to be cleared. Now that this has failed, so best case scenario, we were looking at October 2022 potential for backlog relief. That effort failed. So even if in the next Congress, so this is a big if, there is more movement on it, then you're probably looking at minimum 2023. So in terms of, which obviously we're still working on and trying to push forward, but in terms of relief through Congress and the law, there's, less and less hope as the days go. So, again, I would look at, self-petition options and other ways to correct or, deal with your situation rather than relying on, what's going on legislatively. So there's that Senate Bill 386 problem. And then, I just want to kind of clarify again about the executive orders. I think, this is something that has come up over and over and over again. There's limited power in the executive branch. So first, 386, was that clear enough, or is there any follow-up on that?
No. I think people understood that. Okay, pretty much we can't really keep our hopes high on this. I know a lot of people have been pushing for it, and power to them. But unfortunately, as expected, it didn't go through. So, tell us a little bit about what's going on and the solutions, because now a lot of people are calling us now to move to EB1 or even file national interest waivers So tell us a little bit about what's going on, and you wanted to talk a little bit about something else too. You were mentioning the executive order.
Sure. Yeah. So just in terms of the executive orders, there is been various efforts, right? Like, for example, there was one with respect to student visas, and people who are on a student visa would not be able to continue in the U.S. because of distance learning and COVID-19. That was overturned through a lawsuit that was settled by the administration, and they rescinded that rule. There has been other, executive orders and threats or promises regarding executive orders. Most of this is going to fail. The executive branch has little power to basically, they can make bureaucratic moves, but they cannot make legal moves. They can't change the law that already exists on the books. So whatever the Immigration Naturalization Act has put in place, that cannot be changed through an executive order. This is very clear. It's a very well understood principle of law. So I'm just saying this because almost every single day we are getting numerous phone calls from existing clients, new clients, from people who say, oh, Trump said such and such, Trump tweeted such and such, Trump is that. Don't pay attention to that. You're just wasting your time. It doesn't really matter. You need to really just kind of breathe a little bit and not get into the daily events. We're in political season now, so the circus is going to be there. That is something you have to do. And even on the other hand, other people say, oh, well, Kamala Harris is now the vice president, nominee for the Democratic Party, and, she's one of the sponsors of, Senate Bill 386, and she supports, high-skilled workers, and, she has, her mother's from India. Well, look, we had a president before who's African-American, who's very progressive, who's very, international, multi-racial and all these things, and nothing got done. So, I think that we tend to give over kind of credit or hope to these scenarios where, the real solution probably lies in your own action. I just think in my own, life and how much of it has been impacted by these national events or international events, and how much has it been impacted by what I've actually done, right? What decision I made or what, situation, and that is how life is, particularly American life. So those of you who are in the United States or are intending to come to the United States, you need to understand that this is a country where you take matters into your own hands. You have to do things for yourself. Nobody's going to do anything for you. We don't have the nanny state here that, everything's going to be done on your behalf. So, ultimately, I think right now, you need to really explore your options. So there are two very good, existing self-petition options under the Immigration Naturalization Act. The first being the first category EB-1A for individuals who have extraordinary ability. We can get into that. And then the second being the second category professional class of national interest waiver. So both of those options are there. They exist in law now. They exist in the books now. They can be taken advantage of. So those things are there. The last point I want to make just about the overall news situation is the potential for furlough at the USCIS. So, again, this is something that they had threatened would go into effect on August 3rd. That did not happen. Now they're looking at August 31st. I want to just remind people or maybe inform them that they also issued a information that there are going to be an increase in fees that takes effect October 1st. And that increase in fees is going to resolve any concern that there was over funding. So Congress has already committed to, provide that funding, and it's going to be part of the act. So if there is maybe, a 1 week or 3 days or 5 days little pause, it's not going to impact. You need to think about your future in a logical manner and not get emotional and make bad decisions and poor decisions that you're going to regret. There are folks out there, and I've seen this with my own clients, who want to rush and don't want to go and thoroughly build up a very strong and profound case, and because they think there's some imaginary, deadline that is not accurate and is not true, and then they end up hurting themselves and, creating more expense and more time wasting and ends up, taking forever to resolve their case. So, you need to really leave the emotional anxiety out of your decision-making process and think very logically and strategically. And also rely on professionals. Look, if you are interested in figuring out what is the best solution to my problem, find a professional who can give you those strategic answers. You really need to kind of maybe take a step out of your own shoes. You're feeling maybe a lot of anxiety and pain, so it's hard to make that important decision. So you need to probably rely on some professional who can give you a very objective analysis of what is the best thing for you to do under your specific situation. And I don't care what anybody says, every case is unique. People rely on forums, and I want to go and track it and see what this guy did and what happened with that result. It's all baloney. You're wasting your time. Every case is different. Every situation is different. Every fact is different. And you need, in order to understand what's going to happen in your particular scenario, you need to have your own particular scenario analyzed.
Absolutely. Before we go further, let me quickly take this moment to remind our listeners that if you're just now tuning in, we are in conversation with Attorney Shapir Ali and Attorney Sharif from Shapir Ali Law Group. Listeners, if you'd like to speak to them and ask them a question about any of your immigration problems or cases, you can do so right now. Call us on the studio number 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. And if you would like to make an appointment and speak to them after the show, you can do so by calling 510-742-5887. 510-742-5887, and the website is peralilaw.com. That's PERALLYLAW.com. Guys, we have about 15 more minutes to go. So, what else would you like to talk about? We were talking about events, and Attorney Sharif, Attorney Shah was telling me that you're also a specialist when it comes to O visas and all those special skill visas.
Indeed. So one thing that we like to do, again, is to look at different circumstances. There are now lots of folks who maybe they have completed their studies, whether they are outside the United States or in the United States, and they want to transfer from a student visa situation or an OPT situation, or even, I will give you a best example, is somebody who's on an H-4, and rather than remain on the H-4, those individuals can get sponsored under an O-1A and work under an O-1A. So if you're concerned about the EAD, or you want to have a backup status, so you have one spouse is on an H-1B, the other spouse is on an H-4, have the individual who is on an H-4 reach out to us and discuss options with respect to an O-1A, because number one, that O-1A will give you a backup status. So if anything, God forbid, happens with the H-1B, that O-1A status will maintain the entire family status in the United States. And what's even more profound and important, it's going to give you one step toward having an EB-1A green card application, because once you've qualified for the O-1A, that sets a precedent. That is actually what's called the rebuttable presumption that you are going to be able to qualify for an EB-1A. So it means that what a presumption is that you are likely, if you qualify for an O-1A criteria, which in order to qualify for an O1A, you need to demonstrate that you meet the E11 criteria, which is number one, that you have that you work in a critical role for an organization, or you have worked in a critical role for an organization that has a distinguished reputation, that you have original contributions of major significance to your field of endeavor, that you have either command a high salary or have published materials, that you're a member of an organization that requires outstanding achievement of its members as judged by national or international experts in the field, so on and so forth, that you have reviewed and judged the work of others. So if you have three of those criteria, and it's a lot easier to meet those criteria under an O1A scenario, then you can move from an H4 or from an OPT F1 to an O1A, and that would, again, give double status. So one spouse, for example, can be on an H1B, the other can be on an O1A. So when we're in a time of economic uncertainty and, God forbid, somebody loses their job, your status is maintained through one spouse or another. So this is a very smart way to kind of hedge your bets and maintain your status in the U.S. And again, that O1A will lead you to an eventual EB1A with the proper guidance.
Exactly. And Sharif, I think we have some background noise. I don't know, are you probably outside, but thank you so much for kind of covering the O1A. I want you to, since we're talking about O1A, can you give us a few examples of the cases you have worked on, without, of course, disclosing confidentiality, which has been successful?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that the ones that I like to push towards the O1A would be, for example, in a startup situation where, let's say you're going into robotics or you're going into any kind of, IT consulting work, and you're doing so with a closely held company or a startup company that's sort of innovative, then that is definitely a smart way to start your path with an O1A. Because one thing about an O1A is different than the EB1A is that it requires an employer sponsor. So we use the startup company or the closely held company to be the sponsoring organization, and then, work on the criteria, which again is a lot easier than starting out with an EB1A. Then once we meet that criteria, you're sitting in an O1A visa, it is much easier to then, qualify for the EB1A part. So, I think folks out there who are looking maybe for a position with a startup or a younger, maybe less proven employer, they can also qualify for the O1A. So it's definitely a great way to, maneuver through the, system and establish oneself and get kind of a head start on a green card path.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And Ira, I think you have some questions?
No, not really about this one, but I was also wondering, when you were talking about e-visas and how we started about EB1, we also have a lot of people who are interested in the EB5s, and then sometimes people wonder what are their options if they want to go for EB5 or then E2 versus EB5. So we have 10 minutes if you want to cover that part, E2 versus EB5.
I'll let Sharif cover
we have a caller over here. Let's take this call first and see what they'd like to ask. So hold on a minute.
Okay.
Hello, you're on air. Please go ahead.
Hi, I have a question for Shapir Ali.
Please go ahead. What's your name?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, my husband went to India last year and he got his stamping done for H1, but I couldn't travel with my son, and now I wanted to travel, but because of the new rule, I think we cannot done the stamping done before 31st. So is there any other alternative that we can travel and come back?
Well, you can travel, but coming back is an issue. But for H4, they're allowing kind of people to go for the stamping. One of the things that some people are doing, they're going to Mexico, because H4 they will sometimes, if they have some kind of slots available, they will allow you. But I highly recommend you don't travel right now. It's very risky, even with all the
because I wanted to travel to Canada, so.
Travel to Canada might be a problem because I think Canada is not accepting people from the U.S. So that's another issue. It's not really the issue here. But no, there's no other options. For the stamping, you can get it in Canada, and Canada also is giving preference to Canadian citizens. And the U.S. Embassy in Canada is giving preference to Canadian citizens and PR holders. But you can travel, but getting that stamp is going to be a problem. So unless you get it like maybe in Mexico, get it in India, then travel there, it will become a major issue to come back. And going to Canada, one thing, you don't really need stamping, just to let you know. If you travel within 30 days, you have what we call visa revalidation, which allows you to come back using the I-94. But the problem is actually to get into Canada, that's a different issue. But again, I don't recommend anybody traveling right now. But Canada, if you go to Canada or Mexico, within 30 days, you can come back just with your I-94. You don't need a stamping, unless you have some other issues that they have to deal with. Okay?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Up to you.
Thank you very much for calling in, listeners. If you also have any questions, call us right away on 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. Any questions you have about immigration, apne baare mein ya kisi aur ke liye, if you want to ask a question about immigration, anything at all, call us right away. 510-657-1170 or get in touch with Pirali Law Group on 510-742-5887. We have another caller here. Hello, you're on air with Shapir Ali, Attorney Shah and Attorney Sharif.
Yeah, thank you for taking the call. My question is that until when attorney recommend not to travel outside of the country?
Until when? Okay.
That's $1 million question. Sharif, what do you think? I'm telling people not to travel since a long time right now. The problem is December, we know there are a lot of restrictions up to December. I think the best bet is, there are two things here: the safety, number one, health reason, and number two, all the political issues. After the elections, things might get better or might get worse, but I will not recommend anybody to travel until the end of this year. And we know, first of all, how's the COVID doing? Because you heard today, I think Trump has said that he actually kind of will not even let U.S. citizens come back if they suspect them of having COVID. So I'm seeing a lot of people getting stuck. So I'm not recommending to anybody to travel until the end of this year, or at least after the election. What is your take on this, Sharif?
It's interesting because I was thinking about my earlier comments about executive orders and the limits of executive power domestically. The exception to that is that the executive branch, so the president, has great power with respect to to individuals outside of the United States. In terms of limiting entry, that could be of major, major risk and concern. So as Shah was explaining, first of all, there's a big medical risk. So in terms of travel and the COVID and everything. And then on top of that, there is a risk of, re-entry. I mean, particularly if you need a new visa, that's not going to happen. That's really not going to happen until next year, January. So, again, we would reiterate, you want to avoid travel at all costs. I've had those scenarios where, a relative is, like a mother or father is, very sick and they want to see them and something like that, then you have to make that life decision. But in terms of re-entering after departing, particularly if you need a new authorization or visa or something like that, then, I don't think it's going to happen. I would avoid that.
Yes, indeed, unless you form part on some kind of one of those exceptions. Even with the exceptions, I'm not recommending people to travel. So let's hope we will get updates probably if a vaccine is found or after the elections. I think a lot of it is political. So, but then there are major health issues. So hopefully by the end of this year, we should, hopefully 2021 will be better. But again, nobody knows. But we are recommending not to travel. Okay?
Even if you're within an exception, I mean, the problem is, I mean, good luck getting an appointment at a consulate or embassy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's more than luck that you need, because they themselves are totally, especially in India where the cases are as bad as in the US, most of the embassies are really kind of scared even to open. And the problem is that we have those fingerprint machines where everybody's touching them, and you have, no matter how much they are being cleaned, it's a headache. The whole system is now upside down. So we're not recommending to travel. So I think we have another 5 minutes, right, Ira? So
we have another 3 minutes, sir. I hope that answers your question. Otherwise, if you'd like to speak to Shah or Sharif, Attorney Shah or Attorney Sharif about anything else, you can call on 510-742-5887. We are about 2.5 minutes away from the end of the show. So listeners, if you really have a question right now is the time. 510-657-1170, or definitely get in touch with the law firm on their office number after the show.
I don't think we have much time to take more callers, Ira. So the best is that I'll let Sharif explain a bit about the E2. We don't really handle the EB5, so I don't want to really answer this question. Although we know how to do it, we kind of stayed away with it because because of many fraud issues involved. Just to let people know, be very careful when you use EB5. There are a lot of people who have lost everything with it. So that's one of the reasons we don't really touch it. As for E2 visa, unfortunately it doesn't apply to India, but many listeners are born in outside India, like they're born in the Middle East, etc. Sharif, I'll let you cover that quickly in 1 minute, and maybe
the main point that I mean, it's kind of good to understand E2 as much different than EB5 in the sense that there's a substantial investment requirement. That substantial investment is not in the same scale where you're looking at 1.2 million and millions of dollars of investment in creating 10 jobs. The substantial investment that you're making for an E2 investor visa is more like $75,000 to $100,000 investment. So it's great for somebody that wants to open a small business. At the same time, it depends on what country of birth. And, there's a list of countries that, we can, reference in order to give you more information. But as Attorney Shah mentioned, India is not on that list. There is, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Middle Eastern countries are there, most European countries, Canada. So, if you are in one of those countries, we can definitely talk about an E2 investor visa. The requirements are not that difficult in terms of investment, and it's a great way for you to live, have a business in the U.S., and if you have children, for them to go to school in the U.S. and benefit there as well.
Okay.
All right.
So I think we're done, Sharif. But one correction, I made a mistake. It's just being born in a country, and if you don't have citizenship, you don't benefit from E2. Sorry for that. It's for the category. So thank you very much, Sharif. And I think we're almost done, right, Ira? So I wanted to let people know that anything we told you today is our opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. Thank you, Sharif. Hopefully we'll see you soon in the next coming weeks. EB1, but it was important to cover the topic of the new rules. So, do we have any time left, Ira?
No, in fact, we are. We are at the top of the hour of the next show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for for so much information. Listeners, definitely call 510-742-5887, and the website is piralilaw.com. They will be back here next week, same time, same place. You stay tuned to Radio Zindagi.